It's the Infinite Podcast. Go tell your friends. It's the Infinite Podcast. My God, it never ends. It's the Infinite Podcast with Rob and Cork the Kid.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite Podcast, the podcast covering the infinite and ever-expanding multiverse of fandom. From movies, comics, TV shows, video games, we've got you covered. I'm Rob. I'm here, as always, with Court. Court, how's it going, man?
It's going great, man. You know what? I realized something. When you're lost in the darkness, you got to look for the light.
Oh, he did it again. That's how I ended the last episode.
And I started it with this episode.
Yeah, so we weren't really planning on just talking about one episode of The Last of Us. We were going to do this like we do every other thing that we talk about. Wait for the season to end, then we do a whole thing. But, one, we didn't have a topic for this week, because there's nothing really going on, as the news segment will also dictate. And two, that episode was absolutely phenomenal.
It was incredible.
And it, again, I always preface this by saying it might be recency bias, but it's arguably one of the best pilot episodes of TV in recent memory, at least.
Yeah, it's so engaging. It's so like crass. It's difficult to watch, but I can't help myself from being so invested in this world. And that's through character. That's what The Last of Us really has predicated its whole, sell on. And this show nails it. Druckmann and Mazin they craft this in just this, breathtaking world. It's just, this world is anxiety driven. It's like, it's really difficult to live in, but that's the point. And I mean, the changes that they made were smart changes all through episode 1. And I think this is gearing up to possibly be one of the best TV shows of this year.
I think so too. So we're definitely going to talk about the first episode, do kind of a deep dive into it, talk about it, talk through it. Probably not going to talk a lot about like spoilery stuff, because as I'm learning, there are quite a lot of people that are tuning into this and watching this show and experiencing the story for the first time. Right. So I think as far as like spoilers go, we kind of did that last week with, talking about the game and everything. So I don't want to like double down on spoiling things. Like if I want to kind of like keep the spoilers contained to what we talked about last week, right, and really analyze this first episode as its own thing, as what we were presented with, potentially what it's setting up for next week, as we would any other TV show that we maybe don't have as much familiarity with, because, the show does do some interesting things. And I mean, we'll talk about kind of differences from the game for as far as like this section of what we were shown pertains. Like we could probably do that, but as far as like forecasting the rest of the story, like I don't want to touch too much on that, because as we're going to talk about probably, it's doing exactly I thought it was going to, and it does have wide appeal. Like it's more than just a video game adaptation, and I think we'll talk about it later. But as far as like the viewing numbers and everything, like I expect things to go up.
Oh yeah,
from here.
This is the second biggest opening for a show that HBO Max has had, behind only House of the Dragon, which had the the boost from Game of Thrones before that. So for this to have this type of turnout for a project that is going to be for people that haven't played the game, a word of mouth type of thing, that's got to make them feel proud and think they have a hit on their hands, which I know they do.
Yeah, it feels that way. But first, we do have some news, starting with something that else is going to be a certain hit for television. Beat. We got, I can't even believe I'm talking about this, but we got a Gotham Knights trailer for the CW, the show that I could have sworn maybe it was a fever dream that I thought got canceled. But no, it's back, and it got its premiere trailer. The show is going to start March 14th, and wow.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about first? The fact that Bruce Wayne had a mask on with a business suit and got killed?
We try to be...
The fact that none of these people exist, that the show's based off of?
What I'm trying to say is, we try to be quite positive on this show.
We love things.
Yeah, we like things. We like the Batman universe. It's always cool to see people, studios, whoever, take a crack at like a different take on things. But this is got a lot to prove. Yes. I think if I'm putting it lightly as I can, I don't know what the plot is. Like, I know what the plot is, but I don't know how all these characters mesh together.
Right, because essentially it's basically Bruce Wayne gets killed, and they think one of the kids did it. So essentially it's Riverdale, but in the Batman universe.
Yep.
I don't know what the sell of this show is. I thought the CW averse of, all their DC properties was kind of done. I thought Superman and Lois was going to be the only thing they might have, held on to for maybe one more season.
We did get another trailer for that, by the way.
Yeah, which was actually a pretty good trailer.
Yeah.
It has the new actor that's playing Jonathan in there as well too. He looks good. He looks like he's meshing with them quite well. And then, the big plot for that season is basically revolved around Lois and like Lois's safety and kind of, saving her essentially. So I do envision that might be the last season of that show. And I think Tyler Hoechlin, we've talked about it, how much. I think the best thing to say about Tyler Hoechlin, he just gets it. Like, he understands what not only Superman is, but what Clark Kent is, and like, the duality, but not only the duality, but like what you need to ascend to become Superman, like the man of tomorrow, like, truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. All those things. But this show, as much as Superman and Lois gets it, this show just feels tone deaf. Like, this show just feels like it doesn't understand.
That's a great word for it.
What they want, or what the audience is going to be, or where the CW universe is at.
It feels like this is one of those shows that was like dreamed up or like put in like a vat of like, what do whoever our demographic is, like, what do they like? Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, they like superheroes. All right, throw a little bit of that
in.
Young
adult.
YA, like dark fantasy, like YA, like throw that in, and then like Misha Collins.
Yeah, they dragged poor Misha Collins into this.
Yeah,
I think he signed on to be the Two-Face in like Matt Reeves' Batman universe, and then he looked at the script and he said, "Why does this say CW at the top?"
What an interesting kind of like split of like careers for like the three Supernatural guys.
I know.
Like Jared Padalecki is still stuck on the CW. He's doing Walker Independence. Yep. Misha Collins is still stuck on the CW. He's doing this, and then Jensen Ackles is doing The Boys.
Yeah, like, and I feel like Jensen Ackles is
and he's also voicing Batman now.
Yep, and I have a feeling something's like in the horizon for Jensen Ackles.
Did you hear him in that Batman stuff? It's very Conroy-ish.
Yes, it is very Conroy-esque, which, I mean, it's also homage, and I mean, Conroy's a blueprint much as
he sounds great. Yep. I was just taken aback by it. I was like, whoa.
Right. So, it's very it's one of those things where you just kind of take a seat and you're like, why is this?
It's very confusing.
I'm very confused. I just don't understand why this was the thing. This was the sell. I mean, you just made a good point about like, what trailers are supposed to do, and we live in the trailer age now, I feel like. And you made an incredible point before we hopped on about the Black Lightning trailer, about how that makes you feel, or even the Crisis trailer was doing that. This just feels like a student film. Like, this doesn't even feel like a full, like, time or money was invested in. It
represents the public opinion of what people think the CW averse of superhero shows is, in like the worst way. Like, this is exactly what people perceive when they think of like Arrow and the Flash and Supergirl and Stargirl and Superman and Lois and Legends of Tomorrow. Like, this is what they think all of that is, and
that couldn't be farther from the truth.
Right. Unfortunately, this is kind of giving ammo to that.
Yeah, and this is going to be one of the last things. This show's probably going to run while James Gunn is announcing what his universe is going to be like, so then they're going to be like, well, forget this. We're just going to wait for James Gunn to do his thing in live, on the big screen. But it's unfortunate. And it's like, it's just kind of where the blood is going to flow as well. Like, this is going to bleed into Superman and Lois, not the actual narrative or plot or anything like that, but I mean, like, the perception's going to bleed into Superman and Lois, which is unfortunate. So just watch the first episode of Superman and Lois.
Yeah, they took I don't know what it is. It's just puzzling. Like, I really don't understand it. I don't know how it got even this far. Maybe they just need something to fill the slot with.
Yeah. Yep.
And, this is what we're getting.
It could be the whole Fantastic Four thing again, where CW just needs a show to hold the rights.
Yeah, I mean, I would be shocked if this got more than what it's getting.
Right.
Like, we did the Batman adjacent thing already with Batwoman, and that was fine.
Fine, yeah. I mean, again, you made a good point about the idea that these shows, like, people that vehemently from the inception during Arrow season 1 told themselves they were going to hate the Arrowverse, like, they looked at Batwoman and they were like, this is stupid, this is dumb, and didn't give it a chance. But there were some good bits in Batwoman. But overall, I don't think it was anything, breathtaking or incredible.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I think it was fine. I think it did what kind of, I guess they're trying to do. This show is just like take Gotham and put their own little spin on it. But I don't know. I'm not optimistic, but
How does the Joker have a daughter before Misha Collins, Harvey Dent's Two-Face? What universe is this?
Who is this?
He's
son?
like, how many rogues in? But it's his adopted son.
Yeah.
Relax, Bruce Wayne. Leave the kids on the street.
But it's not any of the Robins, because there is a Robin.
Right.
So who's the son?
I don't understand.
It's so weird.
Is that supposed to be Cassandra Cain, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Cool. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I don't know, man. Ask why.
From one disappointing thing to another. So, so the Suicide Squad kills the Justice League game, a game that we both were very excited, but are very excited about.
Sure.
I don't want this forthcoming news to temper my excitement because it is a Rocksteady game. It is set in the Arkhamverse. Kevin Conroy is back as Batman in his final performance, but unfortunately, a leak came out today, and it's a leak that has since been confirmed that this will be in, I don't want to say Avengers style, but like a Destiny Avengers, that kind of mold of a games of service, live service game that will include like microtransactions and getting paying for skins and like that kind of like enemy like leveling system that promotes multiplayer kind of play.
Yeah, that's what I think they wanted out of this.
But man, it's doing the thing that I want these superhero games to get away from doing, and I thought we were getting away from that, to be honest with you.
My whole thing is, why don't you just look at what's making all these, Guardians of the Galaxy, even if you tailor it like that, but instead of having it just be Star-Lord, like, you get turns as each character, and then you just rotate what their specials would be while you're out of character, essentially. But no, they're kind of sticking again. For people to understand, there's the best way to say it is the Avengers game that just came out style of doing it.
Yeah, Avengers, Destiny, The Division.
Right, Destiny's fun, The Division's good, but
because those games are built for that kind of system.
Right.
Whereas I still have yet to be proven that superhero games are built to this model.
No,
when you have so many other single player, it doesn't even necessarily have to be single player, but Rocksteady made those. Like, they made the Arkham games.
That's why it's just, it's confusing as to why they didn't just kind of, I personally think, like I said, if you mix Rocksteady's track record of making games and you mix it with the idea of how they went about making the Guardians of the Galaxy game, and you marry those, I think it can work. You just rotate, instead of it just be one character, you just rotate the characters out and give them all their separate power sets and kind of do it based off that and have it work, but it just doesn't feel organic anymore. Like, it all kind of feels like the Avengers still, quote unquote, made money.
Gotham Knights also is in this model of kind of a game of service game.
But I think they're just trying to prompt multiplayer, which is what it feels like, which, it's fine. Like, obviously, they want people to play with their friends and stuff like that.
Oh, I think that's an awesome idea.
What always hurts games like this, in my opinion, is the story. That's usually what takes the backseat, which I think what we've learned, and we're probably going to talk about it in a little bit, what we've learned from the modern era of gaming is story is king. That's really what's been driving all of these games to kind of prominence. I feel like you can't scroll through social media sometimes without seeing these story mode games being, praised and highlighted for, their character drive and how they set up their worlds and kind of all their tones and their themes, all these things. And I don't think you get that too much through an Avengers game.
Yeah.
Or a game, or, setting your game up like this. Obviously, I'm going to play it. And I'm going to
play it too.
I'm going to, give it a fair chance. But at the end of the day, I just don't know if this is the way to go.
It's just to this day, the whole microtransaction thing is still not great. It's still not a good system.
Yeah, I just don't think that prompts prolonged gameplay. You know what I mean?
No.
I feel like it has a shelf life when you do something like that, because you're going to pick it up and be behind some people, and you're going to be like, well, I'm not putting money into this game, so why would I ever do anything like that?
And then even playing, even I feel like with the microtransactions and the live service thing, the multiplayer also takes a hit, because oftentimes what happens is you'll have a couple friends or a friend that gets super far into it and they're super high leveled, and you want to play with them, and then what ends up happening is you end up backseating to them because the way the leveling works and everything. Like
that's like when I was carrying you in the Avengers.
Yeah, it either goes one way where it levels to like the worst person in the party, or it goes the opposite way where it levels to the highest person in the party. Either way, the highest level person is just basically carrying everything else. And like that's not fun. Like that's not fun to do. Like you're just a spectator at that point, and I don't know, just there's a lot of things that like microtransactions and game as a service just actively don't promote in place of just like money at the end of the day. Like the Guardians of the Galaxy game again is a perfect example. Like you got all these cool costumes and skins not by paying for them, you just find them.
And guess where you find them in? An incredibly well crafted story, which is just intriguing, and you want to live in that world, and you have your point of view character, which is Star-Lord, but all those other characters don't get downplayed. They actually get, a lot more, they get lended a lot more. I mean, you talk about Drax's story in that, it was great. Like that's the Drax story that you kind of want too, but you don't get that without putting so much investment into the story of what your game is, not just what the gameplay is going to be like, microtransactions to make money.
Yeah, it's super disappointing, but like I said, I'll still check it out. I still am curious about the story. Obviously, Kevin Conroy's Batman is in this, so
the graphics still look good. Like it's not like the Avengers. Like the Avengers from jump had issues. And there were built-in issues to that game. I mean, the level design, all those things.
Level design, enemy design, combat itself is not super fun.
Right. It's very tedious and gets annoying, and characters that
it's not balanced.
It's not balanced, but this game seems like we said those things, but I do think this game has the potential to have the balance of which something like Destiny has.
Hopefully.
With anti-heroes or DC Comics characters, which is cool. So
hopefully it could be that. Hopefully it could be like a superhero Destiny.
I think that would be really fun.
I mean, at the end of the day, like as far as like superhero games upcoming that like I'm looking forward to, like this is still secondary to Spider-Man. It's still secondary to Wolverine. It's still secondary to that Black Panther Captain America game.
Is that a left field?
That's coming out.
That game's gonna still be so cool.
So yeah, I mean, and those are all going to be story-driven, single-player, adventures. Yep. So I mean, that tells you right there. So I don't know. We'll see. But now we're going to move on to some cooler news. So there's a Power Rangers 30th anniversary special coming to Netflix, and it's bringing back quite a few classic Rangers to do like an adventure together.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, we could just address the elephant in the room, and that's Jason David Frank. I mean, unfortunately, like we talked about, he passed away, but I think what this is going to do retroactively, because I believe they did shoot this before he passed, like way before he passed away too. So I wonder if he was in the special. I don't know if because he was one of the biggest, like if you needed something, like I feel like Jason David Frank was always there. I mean, he was there for whatever episode that was. I can't remember if it was like the 500th or the 1000th, but whatever it was, that whole big shebang that they did a couple years back, he was, front and center there. He was even like the verses on YouTube, he would always be in there for those. He was huge amongst the Power Ranger community. So I feel like you don't have a 30th anniversary special without him. Maybe they're just kind of withholding like his interviews that he did. But he's not like in any of like the shots or anything like that I feel like they shot before. So I wonder if he told them no for something like that. But all is to be revealed. I'm excited. I mean, we both talked about it when we were, remembering Jason David Frank, how much we were fond of Power Rangers, how much it kind of forged us. I mean, obviously, I started a little later. I was around that Ninja Storm time. But, I mean, after that, you go back and you watch Mighty Morphin all the way through. And it's just, for kids to have a show like that, it's just awesome. Like, just, week to week, fun hand-to-hand combat with heroes in colorful costumes that have personality is always fun. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad all those actors are back to kind of portray their old roles, and I think it's going to be a huge nostalgia trip for like people.
Yeah, like Netflix is a perfect place for it too. Like it's going to obviously drive viewership to Netflix like early on. So David Yost is coming back as Billy, which is really cool.
I didn't think he would ever even think about coming back to that franchise.
Yeah, because for those of you who don't know, he's a gay man, and he had a lot of problems on set with various people that he has not named publicly, but had a really hard time and had to walk away from Power Rangers because of the harassment and other things that he experienced on set. So it's really cool that he's coming back. Walter Jones is coming back as Zach. He's back.
With the Hip Hop Keto.
The Hip Hop Keto is back. And then a bunch of other actors whose names, unfortunately, I don't know.
Johnny Young Bosch is back. It's not suited up because that's 2 Black Rangers. So you're not going to... Too much... What did he say? Too much pink power is dangerous. Once upon a time, Zordon said. So Aisha's back. Like, they got... Catherine's, Kat's back. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to it. I saw it this morning, and I like couldn't believe it. Like, I was like stunned. But there was a little promo piece with the Green Ranger suit. So we'll see if Jason David Frank is going to be in this. Yeah,
it's super cool, and I mean, people are going to tune in, which is also cool. Moving on to our last bit of news before we get to one other thing, and then we'll talk about The Last of Us. So Agatha Coven of Chaos, as we also, it got delayed, right? Did I imagine that?
Right. Well, this was, I mean, in a larger conversation about Marvel that we're inevitably going to have in our...
Which we predicted many months ago.
We're going to have this conversation in our Ant-Man Quantumania, prelude episode, but... so Agatha Coven of Chaos now has, what do they have? Showrunners/directors?
Showrunners, directors, the writing team is all coming together. So Jack Schaefer, she had a hand in creating WandaVision, and also is doing, obviously, this and Vision Quest, so she is obviously someone Marvel trusts.
I love that name.
Vision Quest?
Yep.
Yeah.
I wasn't about these names, like about having WandaVision at first, and then I was just like, that's actually great. And then,
it's cool. And so this is clearly that someone Marvel trusts with the WandaVision averse, as it pertains to those characters, as it pertains to Agatha Harkness, Ganja Montiero, who worked on Wednesday, and then
makes sense.
Yep,
makes sense that you get it's like having an action movie and not getting the people from John Wick. Yeah,
which we also got with the Rainbow Six show,
right?
And then Rachel Goldberg, who worked on Resident Evil.
Yep.
Which Resident Evils? Unclear.
Yeah, unclear. We're not going to tell you actually.
Not because we don't know, but just because we're keeping it a mystery.
Yeah, we can easily look this up, but it's much funnier to leave this ambiguous.
Yeah, because those live-action Resident Evils are something
movies.
Else.
They're films.
The movies, then there's the Netflix one, the 2 Netflix ones.
The 2 Netflix ones.
The one that's based on the game and then the one that's set in the future?
Right. Which one did she do? Who's to say?
Who's to say? I don't think she did the movies, because the movies was, what's his name? That's married to the... He was married to the woman to Mila Jovovich.
I can't remember his name.
Yeah, he directed those. I'll find his name. But cool that we're getting a writing team together for that stuff.
Sure. Well, I think our favorite part about this show is that we still have no idea what this show is going to be. Because there's actors and actresses that are coming back from WandaVision that were under the trance of the Hex that are coming back to the show, which I presume it's going to be because Agatha is living in the town, so I wonder if they're just going to be in it for an episode. Aubrey Plaza's in this show too. They have actors and actresses in the show that we don't know who they're playing. Usually for these Marvel shows, we kind of know who people are playing. We have no idea who, I mean, outside of, Wiccan being cast, that's probably the only thing that we know.
And then he's in the Ironheart, never mind.
Right, exactly.
The Hood. Don't call him that. Change his name.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool.
The Hood. You got to get a better name. I'm rewatching Arrow, so Quentin Lance's lines are just stuck in my head right now. He really hated Oliver that whole first. He really hated him.
Arrow's so good. So the only other thing that we have to talk about before The Last of Us is we got a big Mandalorian trailer. Yep. So
during some Monday Night Football,
a double barrel Pedro Pascal episode that we're gonna hit you with here.
Yep, in the midst of Tom Brady getting just washed last night.
Yeah, so we got a Mandalorian trailer. It's season 3. We're back. All your favorites are back.
The Mandalorian's back.
The Mandalorian's back.
the ship from last season's back.
Not last season. He didn't get that ship last season.
One day we're going to talk about the criminal nature, which is Boba Fett, and how that show just was robbed.
So those of you who didn't watch The Mandalorian season 2.5 that was presented to us in Book of Boba Fett,
what an insane choice!
It's so insane to me that they did that.
It wasn't even a back and forth. What was it? He had 2 minutes of screen time in 3 episodes or 2 episodes or something like that.
It's
insanity.
Crazy. Not only is that crazy, but the fact that they did important Mandalorian story beats.
Like, Luke Skywalker was in there, who knew Ahsoka was in Boba Fett.
He got a new ship. He reunited with Grogu.
Like, this is... Why was that just not the beginning
And there are genuinely people, like, online that are, like, confused.
Right, because they
didn't watch Book of Boba Fett, because maybe they like The Mandalorian, but they don't care about Star Wars. Like, I know plenty of people like that who are like, no, The Mandalorian's freaking awesome. Like, cool character, Baby Yoda's adorable.
Right.
It's awesome.
Right,
so
but...
they didn't watch Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
So they're like, wait a second.
They really carved out 2 episodes to, like... It wasn't even, like, major implications for The Mandalorian.
It's a big story moment, because...
There's, like, multiple things. I mean, 1A is... He has the Darksaber, like, that's 1A, and, like, now he has to go to Mandalore, and he was told... He didn't get told he needed to go to Mandalorian Season 2. He got told in Boba Fett. B, Luke Skywalker's just here, training Grogu. That's huge. Like, that's massive for the Star Wars.
Training Grogu.
Was, and then he made Grogu choose between being a Mandalorian and going with his father, or being a Jedi. In the Book of Boba Fett, not in The Mandalorian. Ahsoka came back. Not to that capacity. I don't understand. It's crazy.
Like, the big emotional, like, one of the most emotional moments of television of the last, like, 10 years is their departure. Like, them leaving, like, the Mandalorian leaving Grogu and Luke Skywalker.
Yep.
And it's resolved already. Yep. We've already solved it.
But not in the show.
It's so... I don't know.
Do you think, what was the guy before Bob Iger? Or after?
Bob Chapek?
Yeah.
The other Bob?
Yeah, you think Chapek just, like, looked and was just like, all right, just run it. But they were like, we need to wait for this. Nah, just run it.
I mean, in hindsight, maybe.
What I think, I kind of told you what I think happened. I think that they were looking at both, like, you know how they have the pre-screenings to kind of see if I think they did the pre-screenings, and there were people in there who were like, we don't care about this. And then they were like, but here's the Mandalorian, and they were like, ooh.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, I like this, actually. Like, I feel like these were, like, the first 2 episodes of Mandalorian Season 3.
It's possible, at least...
And then they cut some things
at least that one. The one that is just an episode of The Mandalorian that Bryce Dallas Howard did, where it's just an episode of The Mandalorian,
give her the trilogy.
And then Ming-Na Wen shows up at the end, and she's like, hello, Din Djarin.
I'm here to talk to you about the Mandalorian initiative.
I'm here to talk to you about the Book of Boba Fett. Yeah. And the Mandalorian is like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Ming-Na Wen is like, you will. How would you like to have another show, Din Djarin? He's like, ooh.
Yeah.
It's like she, like, fourth wall broke through the Mandalorian and was like, come with me to this other TV show.
I can't believe it. We got off track just talking about the absurdity of what the Book of Boba Fett kind of divulges into.
The beginning of this
trailer...
trailer...
And they're, like, 2 good episodes. Like, those are, like, 2 actual good episodes of The Mandalorian. But the show was just Boba Fett. What? I'm 100% cool with the Mandalorian showing up. I think that would have been, like, a cool, like...
I expected him to.
Part of the episode. I think that would have been a cool piece of the episode thing. Obviously, you don't want to jump the gun and put him just straight up in the finale. And have
Which they did.
Which they did. But at least they put him in 2 episodes before. But you know the problem? Boba Fett wasn't in those episodes of his own show. Like, how are you not in your own show for 2 episodes that have a 7-episode season?
And you know what the problem is at that point? And I hate that we're relitigating Book of Boba Fett, but the problem of having the Mandalorian there in that finale is it instantly lowers the stakes of everything.
Because we know what he's capable of.
And he's walking plot armor. Like, he's not going anywhere. Right, Nothing's going to happen to him. Yep. Like, first of all, he's in an indestructible suit, basically. Second of all, he's not in his own show. So he's going to be fine.
Right.
Like, anything... And him and Boba Fett were, like, side by side the whole time. So you're like, this is all going to work out.
Right.
And it does.
Yeah. Remember when Cad Bane showed up? Oh, man.
Go back and listen to our Book of Boba Fett episode, actually.
Yeah. There's a lot of confusion in that week, and just... That basically just turned into us talking about The Mandalorian. That's all that episode goes into, because that's the only thing in that show that actually matters.
Because all the regular plot threads get tied up by, like, episode 5, and then it's just The Mandalorian.
He just is like a reluctant crime boss, and anything interesting
and he's bad at it.
And he is bad at it. But because he doesn't want to do it. Timothy Oliphant was in that show. What's going on?
So this trailer.
Yeah. Sorry, let's just talk about The Mandalorian.
It's just hard to get around. Well,
this is the last thing that happened before this, so and it's huge. Like, this is massive.
I know. It's just hard to get around the Book of Boba Fett thing to talk about this trailer, because the trailer is like, hey, The Mandalorian and Grogu are back together,
and we're like, yeah, we know. We watched The Mandalorian season 2.5,
and then everyone else is like, what?
Yeah.
So, like, that's so hard to get around, but we have to get around it. So they're back together. He's got a new ship. It's a repurposed N1
so cool.
Naboo starfighter.
So freaking cool.
I remember the prequels.
Yep.
And yeah, so this is essentially like his quest now is to go back to Mandalore, redeem himself, and possibly put the Mandalorians back together.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the most character-driven for Din Djarin season that we needed, because...
Pedro Pascal in a character-driven thing?
Where have I seen that before? But the big thing for this...
It was real weird when he went up to those other Mandalorians and he was like, we're really the last of us? And I was like, huh?
I'm actually going to tenure my resignation, and that was it. That was actually the straw that broke the camel's back. But the big thing for this is, I mean, Din is so... I feel like he's got this sense of purpose, but he's got this overlaying, sense of obligation, which he doesn't want. I mean, that's something that was laid out. That was a big plot there. It's like, I don't like, he's Jon Snowing it. Like, I don't want it. Like, I don't really want the Darksaber, but I have it now, so I got to kind of keep it. It helps. It's keeping me safe. So, are they ever going to talk about, you think they're going to kind of tie down that whole thing where you can't lift the Darksaber itself?
Probably.
Or can he lift it now? I can't remember.
It's still, I think it's a little squirrely for him, but I think he's kind of got a handle on it.
Right. Right. What's the whole deal behind that? Because
the Darksaber?
I haven't seen what's it called? I haven't seen Rebels, and
yeah, well, it's a it's like a Mandalorian super weapon essentially because it was crafted by a.
Well, right. I just mean the fact that why is it so heavy?
It's because it's like there's like a fundamental force of nature thing that like works against the wielder. Like you have to be really like in tune with it to wield it. And you have to be like, it's like a magic sword, basically.
Magic sword. Shout out Cloud Strife. It's just a magic sword.
It's a magic sword that, like, you have, like, the sword. It's not like the sword's like a living sword, but like it's one of those things where like the sword has to believe in you as like the wielder to be able to like fully wield it, and you have to be like fully confident in your own convictions to wield it, which is why Din can't wield it,
right?
Because he doesn't want to be like the leader of anything.
I don't believe. Yeah, he doesn't believe in this.
So the Darksaber's like, I don't like this guy at all.
Where's Bo-Katan when I need her?
But then, that's the whole conceit is like because it's like a holy relic of Mandalore, like it has to be like earned a certain way, which they touch upon. And
I mean, it's not. He tried it. Like Din was like, here, like you can take it. And I just love and I think Katie Sackhoff embodies this so much. As Bo-Katan, I think that's a brilliant casting. But what she kind of gets is. She's fully emblazoned, and this is also probably the best thing about Boba Fett is like Boba Fett's reluctance, but like all this reluctance was only in Mandalorian season 2 of him just being like, you're a cultist, like this whole Mandalorian crap is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Like, why can't you take your I mean, she also was like, why can't you take your helmet off? But even the Darksaber stuff, like, just take the saber, like this won't change anything. And she's just like, I need to earn this. Like this, I can't. Not like this. It says Katie Sackhoff.
Yeah, it's weird that she calls him like a hokey religious cultist, but then when it comes to the Darksaber, she's also a hokey religious cultist.
The easiest path to get the Darksaber, and she just won't take it.
Yeah,
she's just literally being handed the throne of Mandalore, and she's just like, I'm good. We're gonna have to box over this at the end of the season.
Yeah, so
whatever that fight's gonna be is gonna be, I think, nothing short of incredible.
Yeah, so this trailer gave us more Mandalorians falling out of gunships. Which is great.
Yeah.
What else did this trailer give us? Gave us TIE Fighters?
TIE Fighters, Babu Frick.
It gave us 2 Babu Fricks.
2 Babu Fricks.
What's going on there?
Yeah. We got Coruscant. Secret.
Somehow Coruscant returned.
Yeah, somehow Coruscant returned. Coruscant's back. Coruscant's like 70s fashion. It's back. They bought it back.
We got a Jedi sequence.
Right, yeah, so...
Probably the...
Order 66.
I was thinking the battle between... Was it the Sith and the Mandalorians?
Oh, right.
Or the Jedi and the Mandalorians?
The Jedi and the Mandalorians. Oh, that would be really cool. Like
that's what I'm thinking that is.
To that entire thing. Yeah, that would be sick, actually. I wonder if it's actually with Mandalore the Great. That's who it's kind of cutting through that big palace door. I think that would be a really cool
Looks
sequence.
Like the Jedi Temple, but it might not be. Who knows?
Right. That could be Mandalore that they're on in that sequence, too. So
yeah.
This trailer doesn't really give you a whole lot. I mean, it just kind of
it gave us all the Mandalorian-like stuff.
It just gives you all the stuff you remember from like season 1 that
gave us the pipes.
The pipes, yep. Mm-hmm.
This is the way.
This is the way. Yeah.
He says it twice.
Yeah, he does say it
in
twice,
the trailer. Yep. Grogu using the Force.
Mm-hmm. He's getting better.
Yep, he's getting better. He's learned some things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Overall, I mean, when did season 2 end? 3 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think was that pre-pandemic or no?
Yeah.
I feel like it was like late. I think it was like December 2019. It might have been because Book of Boba Fett came out in 2021, which makes sense. So there's like a
October 30th to December 18th, 2020. So yeah, it was pandemic.
Oh, it was, yeah. I'll just never forget the full out euphoria of me I randomly woke up at like 5 a.m. on that day, and I was just like, let me just throw this episode on, and then just unveiled the greatest episode of Star Wars television ever. So that was fun, but I'm looking forward to the show. I mean, people don't understand, this is the original staple of Disney Plus. This is the first thing that Disney Plus really was marketing heavily, and they had an absolute win in their hands. Pedro Pascal is now he's at his height of his career because of this. This is the thing that kind of got him up there. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's just one of those things that, like, it's comfortable.
Yeah, yep.
I'm like, yes, The Mandalorian. Yeah. Like, a thing that I know, a thing that I really like.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some genuine stakes. I just don't know who you kill. Any people you want to see show up in this?
Like, outside, like, someone that we haven't seen?
Sure. Maybe somebody that we have seen and somebody that we haven't seen.
Someone that we have seen. I mean, I think this is already confirmed, but I'm already excited to see him. Moff Gideon, yep. I think, is back. So Giancarlo Esposito's coming back. He's great. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy seeing him. And then as for someone we haven't seen, man, I really do wonder if they're going to tie this more into the Ahsoka thing.
I think they are. I personally think they're going to have... It's not... Nothing's ever going to be Book of Boba Fett levels of departure from what your main plot is, but I do think that she's, A, going to be in the season, and B, he's going to help her with something to get to Ezra. Because who knows Ezra but not Bo-Katan, right? If I'm not mistaken?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So... yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, I'm just the worst for saying this, but obviously Cal Kestis is who you would want to see show up in this. I think that'd still be cool. I just want the satisfaction that Cal and Luke know each other to a capacity. Just put some makeup on. Do what you did to Pedro Pascal.
Did you see him and the girl who plays Marin at the Last of Us premiere together?
Oh, right, yeah. I was like, what's Cameron Monaghan doing it? He would have been a good David.
Ooh.
Yeah. Shout out the Gotham series for kind of propping him to that, but that would have been fun. Dye his hair dark brown, give him a beard and let him go off for a little bit. But it would be cool to kind of see Cal just running around for a little bit.
Especially since that was some theories out there that he would be the Jedi to answer the call last season.
Still such a huge swing that they took to just make it prime Luke Skywalker. Yeah, it's awesome. I guess somebody that we have seen. I mean, probably.
Boba Fett.
Nope. He's lost the way. He does not know the way. It's
Saboba.
The midichlorians. I mean, it's probably Ahsoka. I love her relationship that she kind of has with Grogu. I think it's fun. I think it's sweet because that was the first person for him to kind of...
Ben Quadraneros?
Nope. What about Leia's dad? Leia's adoptive dad.
Bail Organa?
Yeah.
Jimmy Smits?
Yeah, bring Jimmy Smits back.
Isn't he dead at this point?
Anything's possible. Somehow Jimmy Smits returns.
Qui-Gon? Ghost Qui-Gon?
No,
again?
real Qui-Gon would be even better.
It's just, it gets to the end of Mandalorian Season 3 and he turns.
And it's just
Liam Neeson.
It's just the same thing he did at the end of Obi-Wan.
I'm wondering when you would come. I'm wondering when you'd show up, Din Djarin. Come on. We got a long way to go.
You're Pedro Pascal from The Last of Us.
And then Obi-Wan comes behind Qui-Gon. Mm-hmm. And he's like, hello there.
And then Anakin comes behind him. They gotta let us on one of these shows. Just be full out anarchy for just hours. And speaking of anarchy, that leads us into our main topic, which is
something we've never done.
Yeah, the much anticipated premiere of The Last of Us premiered on HBO Max 2 days ago, and boy,
moly,
did that just kind of overtake our lives for the last couple days. And it's
all I can talk about. It's all like anyone who's seen it can talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so well done. And I mean, huge shout out to Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin, and I'll give them a huge shout out for this, for not really caring, about people's opinions. And it's funny that people have so much opinion on the guy that actually made the thing about the changes that he's making to the thing he actually made versus somebody else stepping in and making the changes. That's just, it's a little bit confusing to me. But what we got in this opening episode is just terror, fear, but also heart and kind of hope, which you don't think are things that are possible in a post-apocalyptic world, but you get that through your characters. And I mean, we could just talk about Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal as Joel and Ellie, and they're magnificent. I think you talk about spirit of a character, like Bella Ramsey just gets it. She even sounds like, there's times where she sounds exactly like Ashley Johnson.
It's uncanny.
Yep. It's truthfully awesome. And then, I mean, you can't say enough about Pedro Pascal and anything he does, and just adding him into this, full out broken man, and kind of seeing the, the detritus of that, I think is something that was needed for this, and a prolonged detritus of that.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it, not just last week, but anytime, the show has come up, we've talked about kind of both of our relatively high expectations, and, we both thought that this would be pretty freaking good. But even my own expectations were exceeded. Because it's so, the word I keep coming back to is tight. It's tightly written. It's tightly directed. So Craig Mazin directed this episode.
He's transcendent behind the camera. I mean, I think people often get confused on what a director does. Like, a director doesn't just kind of, tells actors what to do. That's not their only job. They don't just read a script and just tell people to move in a way. It's like, you need to understand what the feel of your show is going to be, and tonally what the show is going to be in camera. Like, that's where visual storytelling comes from, and I think he kind of understands it. I mean, it's down to shots of, no spoilers, but just kind of, certain things being left out of focus, and, it's the wherewithal to kind of have, non-claustrophobic handheld shots.
I think we can talk about that stuff. I don't think that's spoilery, really.
Sure. So, I mean, we'll give a spoiler tag if you don't want to know anything about the first episode.
If you haven't seen it.
Right. Yeah, go away. But if you haven't played the game, you're safe. We're just going to talk about this episode. We'll talk about, nothing that's going to lead into, the big, this opening sequence essentially is a synopsis for what the full game is. And that's what, what this game, or what the first episode covers. So, we start off with, when I just thought they were going to start off with Sarah, and then I saw Radcliffe from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I just knew nothing good of this was going to happen. I saw 1968 and then Holden Radcliffe, and I said, oh no.
It's the doom and gloom exposition guy from The Mummy.
Yep.
He's back.
Yep, he is back.
And he's back with more doom and gloom exposition. So John Hamm is back.
What an incredible way to start. It's just
so smart.
Because what this does, and what this does better than the game, because the game's just all right, fungal infection took out 60% of 60+% of the Earth's population, but here's just this underground, way of playing this game with, and you get guns along the way. Cool. This essentially sets up the true fear of any type of pandemic or anything, the actual, it's the build up to what the thing could be. It's the fear of the what if. And I think the best part about horror, and it's something that I think, I mean, it was revolutionized before Jordan Peele, but I heard Jordan Peele say it's not the bang, it's the anticipation for the bang. That's where true horror comes from, and this is the definition of it. They're having a conversation, 1968, probably, one of those PBS sit-in specials where you're just kind of, two scientists are talking, and, the one scientist is just oh yeah, a viral infection, a virus infection is scary and can take out the world. And everybody that was watching is I see what you're doing. And then our guy from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Mummy is just you think that's bad? Where do you get your LSD from? Where does that come from?
Where do you get your LSD from?
Where do you get your LSD from?
I'm a talk show host.
Yeah. Not for long, because he was stunned in disbelief after that. But what he kind of tackles is this idea that fungus is one of the scariest things that can, if fungus, infects humans, he made the point, where does LSD come from? It comes from fungus. Fungus is not something that can get you sick. It's something that alters your brain itself, alters your brain chemistry itself and takes over like a parasite. So that's the true horror behind it too, because you wouldn't be able to control your like you're physically or mentally you can't control yourself. So he says like, it's no big deal unless the earth heats, then we're in trouble. And then everybody did the Kobe meme and was just like, just looking around like,
There is just enough hokey science explanation in this to make me nervous.
Like new fear on like and I don't even want to think about. So I'm knocking on wood. I don't even want to think about thinking this into existence. But remember Contagion from 2012, and then 2020 happened. Did I not get that same feeling that I got from watching Contagion, from watching that opening sequence in this show of like, it's near impossible, but if this happens, he says it right there, game over. It's like we're finished. Like if this happens,
he does the Tobin Bell from the end of the first Saw movie. Game over.
Game over.
Slam the door.
Yeah.
This. So right from Jump Street, like 5 minutes in, I was already tense. Like I was already like, oh no.
Yep.
And they said, look, you're listening to people who have already played this game, know the story beats, know what's coming in this very episode, and I was still tense.
Yeah.
Like I was still unsettled.
Yeah.
I was still uncomfortable.
Yeah. Because it's like the best thing about live action is that your brain has no choice but an immediate reaction to feel something real from this. Like there's a level of realism anytime you see, actual people doing things, and that's what helps about having a TV show about this too. And then adding that overlay of like, look, this can actually happen.
It's all
like,
grounded in reality.
Yeah, like this is like, and I mean, Druckmann purposely chose like cordyceps from ants that actually happens in nature, and he said like
it exists. The cordyceps is a real thing.
This is a real life thing. So it's like, man, that line where he said, but if the earth heats a little bit, I was like, uh-oh.
It was that line.
The wherewithal to also have an Al Gore shirt in that show after saying that is just... Give Neil Druckmann a pat on the back. That's incredible.
It's so well crafted, man.
And then
so well crafted.
Then we jump to 2003.
Yep.
And then just a great bit of visual callbacks too of like the light refractions off like the dust particles in the air to kind of mimic the spores. I thought was really good over Sarah. I thought that was awesome. And Sarah's waking up. They should have put some early 2000s music over it, but
yeah, you really could have.
That would have been
you gotten away with it. Yeah,
but it's the doom and gloom of this universe. So it's like, what I respect is when shows know when to be loud and shows know when to be quiet. Like this show knows exactly when to shut up.
It feels like it, yeah. At least early on, yeah.
All that is directional decisions and writing decisions that are just made for the better. So, best thing about this show is you dive deeper into like the day to day. Like, and again, you talk about descent of something. That descent feeling it does not escape at one point. Like, something is wrong. Like, and it's not like, in the game, it's like, it's quick. It's like, she wakes up and like,
they have a fun little chat and then
the world ends. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the slowest of slow burns. It's like, it's the smallest of things. So she wakes up, she can't find the pancake mix. And I got my theory on that because I think
Nico Parker is extraordinary.
Oh my god.
As Sarah.
She needed to nail two things. She needed to nail, obviously, spoiler alert, you're in the spoiler section. She needed to nail the death of Sarah, and also she needed to nail the drugs. I sell hardcore drugs. If those two things were nailed, then she did a great job. No, seriously, she was awesome as Sarah. Somebody you immediately are fond of, like, from the gate, like, a go-get-em type of girl that, loves her dad, her single dad.
She's a great point of view character.
Yep, from the jump. It's like she doubles down on everything that makes the game great. But it's small things. So she wakes up, they're listening to the radio, they're talking about something's happening in Jakarta, and like it's so smart because again, this show does not give it to you right away. It waits because they're talking about Jakarta's going like it's starting to happen in Jakarta, but what they're talking about is where does Jakarta exist? Like, that's all they care about. Yeah. And Tommy's like, we do have hope for us after all. Like,
because she's smart, yeah.
Because she's smart. Like, they're not, it's just small little things. So she goes to school.
This show does so much with so little. And what I mean by that is, in storytelling, we say, show don't tell.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this opening sequence with Tommy and Joel and Sarah does a lot of different things, and throughout the outbreak sequence of this episode does a lot with a little. And what I mean by that is Joel, for example, you already, just based on little things he says, you can already tell what type of person he is. You can tell he is not self-centered in a bad way, but he already has that kind of like self-centered mindset where he wants to do the most with as little as possible, because Tommy makes that mention of like, we can get a couple more hands on this job, like it'll go by, because it's his birthday. It's Joel's birthday, and Sarah does not want him to work as long as he's planning on working. And Tommy makes the suggestion like, we can get a couple more guys on this job, and Joel goes, no, I don't want to split the money. He's like, I don't even want to split it with you, like my own brother.
He's very to himself, but he's very, you can tell he's very it's like that kind of, obviously we don't have any experience, but it's kind of that thing you hear about, like when parents have kids, even like the coldest of people will have an affinity for that child once they have him, and you can feel that with Sarah. Like you can feel
she's his world,
you can feel the bones of Joel Miller, like broken Joel Miller, but he didn't get the band broken yet. Like, and he's very dependent on her. Not really the other way around, which is a cool little thing. Like, she has to wake him up. She has to make him breakfast. Like, what did she not make him? Pancakes, which involves flour, which is going to lend to my theory in a little bit of what infected everybody. But we go on. One of them's Desert Storm, which also lends a little bit to kind of backstory for their characters. I think it is. I think you are right. I think it is Tommy. That was Desert Storm. It could have been both of them, which would be pretty cool, because that would also lend to like what happens later in the episode with all that stuff about how instead of in the game they're estranged, like here they're kind of connected, like week to week, checking in on each other 20 years after the incident happened. So it is a little interesting, like maybe they were like, us, and like that time period of the game, of the show, is like, it's like a happy accident almost. Like it does take place, like after 9/11 this happened too. And you made a great point that I'm going to shout out later, but we go on, she goes to school, and it's starting. She's in class. Well, they also have a brief interaction with the neighbors. Yep. And what's the grandmother eating? Biscuits. She's eating flour again. And she's already, you can tell she's quite ill. She's old, but she's also old, quite ill. Right. But I just love that, like, those little things that, like, it feels realistic. Like, kind of the overbearing, like, annoying neighbor, like, oh, come over to my house. That another thing. And then, like, you see another fun moment with Joel and Sarah where they're trying to push the neighbors off on one another. And obviously Joel's the dad, so Joel wins. Like, Sarah will see you after school, so that sets that up. And then we get into the classroom, and again, George Bush jump scare. Quick George W jump scare. And then there's, so it's just this Madison knows how to direct, man. So it's just the refraction of light that keeps going off of her, with some Sarah's ominous, spooky, like, music behind it. Yep. And then you just see in, like, one of her classmates is just, the hand is just twitching, and then the bell ring again. You just hold it. Don't do it yet. They just hold it and say, don't think twice about it. And the teacher yells, "I expect this homework by tomorrow night." That homework's not going to be there tomorrow. They're not coming back. They're not coming back, Chief. Especially that girl that probably ate pancakes in the morning. So we keep going. Sarah goes to a shop to get Joel's watch fixed for her birthday. For his birthday. Yep. She steals his own money for good reasons, though. She's not a bad person. She's good people. She finds a knife in his drawer too, which again, it's just a show not tell thing. Like, you can tell Joel's seen some stuff or done some stuff too. And I mean, that's something that's talked about throughout the entire episode. Like, people talk, like, multiple people say, "I know what you're capable of," and you're like, "Ooh, what is," like, especially people that have not played the game, like, what has this guy done in his life to have this so unlock? But she gets to the shop, and then this is where you can really start. So cop cars are flying. She takes the bus. Bus route's good. There's just a little bit more traffic on the road. Then it's so good, man. Cop cars just start flying by, and then she's just, you don't think twice about it. But again, because they're in Austin, Texas, like, there could be cop cars. It just holds, what it holds to is this sense that, like, this is normal, like, this is life, like, but there's, like, it's the underlying, the world is ending, but it's the overlaying, this is just people existing in life. Like, the shop owner's like $20. She's like, it's not more? Okay, $30. Like, just funny little bits of, like, human interaction, and then his wife, whoever that is, walks out and's like, "You need to go." And
Yeah, we're closing.
Yep. And they start speaking Arabic to each other, and he's just like, "Uh-oh." And then she's just like, "Go." And the shop owner tells, "Go home. You need to go. You should go home, like, right now." She's like, "Okay."
And it does invoke a lot of imagery of COVID. When COVID hit, it was, we both work regular jobs, and
I think we were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it was. It was, all right, we're closing up shop, and everyone's going home. And that's it.
Right.
And stay home.
Right.
So there is that, that, and I mean, obviously they made this show with that in mind also.
Right. Yep. And then that happens. She gets home, but crap, I gotta go check on the Adlers. Gotta go. What is the line that that mom Adler gives her?
3 nails.
3 nails. Yeah, because she says, so Sarah's just like, "Sorry, I'm late. There's just a whole bunch of cop cars on the road."
1 cross 3 nails equals 4 given.
Yeah, she's just like, people need to get right with Jesus. And she was right. She was right. So, yeah, so 3 nails, 1
cross.
1 cross.
4 given.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they're in the kitchen, and what is she making? Cookies. Something else with flour in it. And Sarah goes to eat a cookie. Yeah, it's insane, the sequence. So, obviously, Papa Adler's nowhere to be found as of right this second. But Grandma Adler's in her wheelchair in the living room. And Sarah's like, "Can I go check out your movie collection real quick? I just want to get a movie for my dad." Cool. And again, this man he got such a handle behind the camera. It's just awesome. So, they keep... on the left side of the frame, they keep Grandma Adler out of frame, and Sarah's cycling out of focus. She's cycling through, and next thing you know, her mouth just opens and she starts convulsing. Essentially, it's horrifying. Again, it's the whole idea of horror. Like, it's the anticipation of you're waiting for her to get out of her chair and attack Sarah, and she just is sitting there.
It is one of the most horrifying frames of thriller horror since, remember the bit in Signs?
Yeah, yep, yeah.
With the alien walking past the alleyway,
and Joaquin Phoenix loses it. Yeah,
it's that level of discomfort for me. It was horrifying because, again, there's that little that as like she's like looking through the movies, and like you said, she's out of focus. The grandmother's out of focus, and then she just starts like twitching in her chair, and then her head goes up and her mouth opens, and the way, because she's out of focus, the way her mouth opens, like it's like this distorted black hole of like a mouth, and then she just like resets, and then she's normal, and then Sarah gets the movie and she leaves.
Yep. She's but what happens before she leaves? That dog is just...
Dogs know.
Just glaring at the grandmother, and Sarah just doesn't think twice about it. She goes home. It's just that sequences like that are ones you remember, man. Of just, it's so creepy you can't get it out of your head, but it's such an incredible.
It's picture perfect as far as like direction. It's like it's incredible.
Right. So Sarah goes home. Joel's late, obviously. She got him a gift. How'd you get this gift? Drugs. I sell hardcore drugs.
Which is ripped straight from the game.
She's wearing the same shirt from the game too,
yep.
But
Same
they
shirt,
added instead of the 2012 tour, it's the 2002 tour. So it's good on you guys to pay attention to what you're doing too. I love that little line he gives, like, "You finally locked the door for once." Like, yeah, thank God she locked the door. She needs to leave the store locked every single time. So she gives him the famous watch from the game. He's, just great interaction. They mesh so easily together.
The scene is almost beat for beat ripped from the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Joel's still got that Joel sense of humor on him too. Then Tommy calls. Tommy's just like, "You gotta bail me out right now.
I'm in jail."
And
Joel's like, knucklehead.
It felt like one of those again, like you're in jail again. And Tommy immediately is just like, "It's not my fault." It's like a people are going crazy. Like something's going on.
Well, he said he got into a fight with some guy at a bar who attacked a waitress.
That went crazy, and wasn't my fault. They took me to jail, but you gotta get me out today. You can't get me out.
Because I'll be here all weekend. I'll be stuck here all weekend.
Yep. So
I gotta get out.
Gotta get me out now. So Joel leaves. He brings Sarah to bed, exactly like the game. And it's about 11 something. Sarah wakes up at 2:16 a.m.
Explosion. It was an explosion. The transformer exploded.
The transformer blows, and she walks outside.
Helicopters.
Or no, she doesn't walk outside yet. She walks, and then all she hears is the little jump scare. The dog's just clawing at the window. She goes to see what's up. Sarah, you didn't watch much horror movies. You got to watch more horror movies with your dad. You would know not to go in that house. She goes into the Adler house
because she tries to bring the Border Collie back to the Adlers, and and it goes away.
Yep.
It vanishes.
It just runs away like he knows.
They don't kill the dog.
Nope.
In this,
thank God. Yeah.
They don't kill the dog. The dog is presumably.
The dog knows.
The dog presumably went out and lived a very happy life.
Yes, the dog did turn into just the greatest liver and the greatest survivor.
The dog was the last of us.
Yeah, he was the last of us. The last of pups, if I may.
Oh no. He's done it.
Yeah, I've solved comedy actually. So, she walks into the house and she opens that little, the little saloon doors that they have.
Because it's Texas. I assume everyone in Texas has those doors.
It's so good. And she slips a little bit and she looks down and it's just blood. Oh no. So she has a little slip and she's just like, that's actual human blood, and she plays horror really well. I won't be surprised if Nico Parker just starts booking horror roles just based off this, but she plays it real well. And there it is. She sees Papa Adler just on the ground, just blood everywhere.
His neck ripped open.
And then she looks to the right and she sees Grandma Adler just. Oh man,
going to town.
Yeah, just going to town on Mama Adler. And then she looks up, and Sarah's like, "We gotta go, man." And she's out. Turns into Prime Derrick Henry. It's out of there.
There's these unsettling tendrils hanging out of her mouth.
The difference from the game of actual something that they're attaching them. It's because they're hairy and they're it's so.
It's awful.
Creepy to look at.
It's awful.
Because I thought it was her hair that she ripped out, but no, it was the actual tendrils attaching to her flesh. It's just. Man, oh man. So Sarah runs, she books it. Joel and Tommy pull up, and Pedro Pascal's he's ramped, man. He's great. Get in the truck now. And then he does it. Kills Grandma Adler. She turns into a prime athlete this. Listen, if you got some issues, physically, you might want to get the cordyceps virus so you could be healed. Because boy, she was moving.
Yeah.
She was moving.
Yeah.
So
wrench to the head.
But he still has 2 hits left. If we're going by game logic, he still has a couple hits left.
Sarah's visibly shaken.
Or if he chooses to upgrade the weapon, he's gonna have even more hits left. So
Tommy's got the rifle.
Tommy's got the rifle. I had to wait 6 hours in the gameplay to get the rifle, but Tommy still has the rifle. Unfortunate. So yeah, they drive into town, and then before they drive into town, Denise, get back in your house and lock the door. And guess what Denise didn't do? She didn't go back in the house and lock the door, and then she was killed by the Adlers. So that's her own fault for not listening to Pedro Pascal. So they drive away, and then this beat for beat turns into the game. It's it's incredible.
Point of view shot from the truck. It's almost damn near a one shot.
Yeah, it is.
It's close, but it's not.
Well, they have prolonged shots that kind of break, but while they're in frame and while the shot's taking place, it's inspired filmmaking of what they do, man. It's so good. It's so well done. It's
when you know it, all hell's breaking loose.
Oh my god! So they're driving. It's like we said, it turns to the game. So they make that right.
And you should know this whole time when I told you I was tense, 5 minutes in, I'm still tense.
Yeah.
At this point,
yeah, because the world You see how, when Sarah walks out of the house, helicopters are, flying, jets, low-flying F-18s
jets
are just flying, you're just, it's not good, something's going on. So Sarah gets in the car, they're driving, they pass the family, and then Joel's like, what are you doing? And
another character moment.
Mm-hmm. And then he's just they have a kid, Joel, and then he's just, so do we, keep driving. Just from the game, but it's just, yeah, he's a survival, he's a self-preservation survivalist. I only care about me and my family. That's it. I don't want
to help anybody else.
I'm not helping anybody. I got Sarah back there. Absolutely not. So that happens. They keep driving. They get in the van. So they're driving. Tommy and Joel kind of figure it out. They're like, all right, how much gas you got left? We're going to take this path, and we're going to take it back.
They can't take the highway.
The military's there. Can't go this way. So They get into town, and it's like the game.
Bedlam.
Yep. Man, so as they're driving into town, they just hear this noise, and you just see set like 4747. I literally had my like mouth drop during this sequence. I was like, because it's all in the one take. Like, it's very Children of Men sequence in the car. Like, but like the one take of they just look up and there's just planes just crashing, like one after another, just going down. But again, they don't crash the plane yet. They just see them going overhead, like 4 planes just over their head. They're like,
yeah.
Imagine the sound break you would hear by having a plane that close to you it's insane. So they get to town. It's just full out anarchy and just the worst situation you could be in. There's just panic. People are running away. The best part, you don't know who's infected and who's just running away too. That's why it's so good. It's so good.
Yep.
So he's like, run him over. He said, what do you want me to do? Run him over? Yeah, you should run him over. We got to get out of here. So it's when that glass breaks in the theater too. And like, you saw what the movie name was? Midnight Madness?
Yeah.
Yep. Makes sense. Yep. So he's like, back up. Like, you gotta, and then, man.
Sarah sees the plane.
Sarah's like, Dad, there's a full-out plane just descending right into the ground, and Joel's like, you gotta move, we gotta go.
And boy, how did they crash that plane?
Yep. Crash the plane.
It is bonkers.
The engine from the plane bounces off the building and hits what a crazy way to recreate the actual crash because they do the fake out with the car that from the game.
I can't believe they crashed that plane like that. Because that, like we said, we'll talk about comparisons to the game. There is no plane crash in the game. There's a car that slams into a gas station and explodes a gas station, but that plane crash was absurdity.
Yeah. It's just it was the prelude of the planes flying over, all these planes are about to hit, and that just, what it does is it rounds out the universe the same way that opening sequence from 1968 did. Think about the other things that were happening while this was going on. Planes were probably just falling out of the sky. Cars were just crashing everywhere. The worst possible scenarios were happening at this time. Anybody operating anything, imagine you were on a cruise or a boat while this happened. The world is literally ending, and it's the worst scenarios you can think of are happening.
It's crazy.
So
it's crazy.
Plane crashes. They get out of the car. Sarah's ankle's hurt. She's like, my ankle, and you're like, uh-oh. And then the sheriff's van crashes into their car, which separates Tommy from Joel and Sarah.
It's so chaotic.
And it won't let up. And now it's your foot's on your throat, and you won't let up now. So Tommy's like, I'll find a way to get around too.
We're gonna meet at the river.
And then Joel's got Sarah. He's carrying her, and then Joel runs into an alley, right? And he looks to his right, and then he looks to his left, and he sees a crowd of just dead people, and he sees one of the infected, spreading the infection to another one, and the head flick that he has to look at them is just I can't even describe how that made me feel. And then just the most athletic infected you'd ever seen in any type of zombie story divulges. It's like World War Z. They're efficient.
They're fast.
They're agile. Maybe not too agile.
Mobile, agile, hostile.
No. This is just Remember the Titans. It's not so fun anymore. That's how I was to people that had never played the game that watched this. It's not so much fun. It's not fun anymore, is it?
Nope.
It's not fun.
Nope.
So
not at all.
Yep. So that zombie, the infected chasing after, just crashing into anything because it has no sense of direction. It just wants to turn Joel and Sarah. So just crashing into everybody. It's almost got them. Then boom. And I'm like, thank God Tommy's here. It's not Tommy. It's the military. And,
Yay!
Somebody actually made a great point about this too. Is that anytime you see military in a story like this, it's usually a good thing. That's usually the thing that's there to protect and save you. They did probably what would happen. They were we're killing anybody that does not have a mask on right now, and
that is injured. That's in any way.
Because that was a point that was made. Is just they might have thought Sarah was infected because he was.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's just I can't trust anybody right now. The world's ending. I can't have any level of trust. So Soldier looks up, and we're not sick. It's the difference of how pleading for not his life, he was pleading for Sarah's life in that moment too.
Yeah, and it's a great differentiator from the game, because in the game, you know, he's still very stern, like we're not sick.
But
Where in this, like, Pedro plays it very passively, and he's like, we're not sick. Like, he repeats himself multiple times in the sequence with multiple different lines. Like, you could tell, like, this is a man who is, you know, up to this point had kind of had things a little bit as much under control as you could, but now you see him faced with a situation that is completely out of his control, and he is panicked by this. And another great thing that they changed from the game was the soldier never says, "But sir, there's a little girl." All he says is like, "There's two civilians and injured,"
and then just repeat,
and then,
"Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir." Like, he never protests. Like, there's no, like, hesitancy. He just, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." And then, again, you have Joel going, "We're not sick. We're not sick."
Right.
And then the soldier raises the gun and sprays, and Joel
You gotta
collapses.
think he wanted to play that situation, because how did he turn his body? He turned Sarah first when he turned his body too, which is just absolutely unfortunate. So, man,
They barrel roll down the hill,
and
then
the soldier goes to kill Joel, and he's just like, "Please don't." And then Tommy, ex machina, pulls out, kills the soldier. Thank
Long
God.
range.
Long range. Shout out Tommy. He's got all the perks. He's got all the guns unlocked on Call of Duty. He's doing great. But
yeah,
unfortunately, Tommy looks over first, and then Joel looks over and crawls to her. It's the one thing she had to get right. Nico Parker had to get right, and she exceeded at getting it right.
bro. It's, you know, we watched a couple of, like, reactions on YouTube and TikTok and whatever we have, and the reaction almost across the board to this is the same. It's this
From people that have played the game and not played the game.
Yeah, it's always the same. It's this stunned, just sadness and silence as this girl is dying. She's in pain and she's dying. Like, it is not a peaceful death by any means. It is horrible. You know, Joel, again, I go back to Pedro repeating the words like, I know. It, you know, what I told you was, when we talked about the Amazing Spider-Man movie with Andrew Garfield, when Uncle Ben is dying, like, he repeats himself, and even when Gwen dies, also in 2, he repeats things very frantically and very, you know, hurriedly, because that's what it is. Like, when you're seeing someone in pain and they're dying, like, your heart rate is just like out of control, and like, you're frantic.
It's like a sense of like disbelief. Like, I cannot believe this is, like, why me? Is this happening to me? Of all,
and he's like, I know. And then that's when he screams for his brother.
And what, again, an incredibly sad directing choice to do is when you don't see Sarah, like, the last breath Sarah takes, because it cuts, or it doesn't cut. I mean, I think it does cut. It cuts to Tommy, and Tommy gets out, like, that last sigh, like, Joel, and then he looks back and he's like, she's gone. Like, when he tries to lift her up, she's gone. And, like, he can't believe it. Like, he's just like, this is the worst. Who cares about the world? Like, my world ended. That's what's more important. And that's Joel Miller. Like, that's who he is. Like, I don't care about the rest of the world dying. Like, my world just died. Like, that's the only thing that matters to me right now.
It's horrible. It's oh my God.
Yeah.
It's just
right.
It's crazy.
And this is the thing that they needed. This is the best way to get people engaged in the show.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, for us, I mean, specifically for people that haven't played the game, like, this is just
story beat.
This is just
it's flawless.
Like, this is just good show running. This is good. It's smart. It knows what the audience it wants, and that's everybody. Like, that's everybody. Like, this
it's
show
one of the
yeah.
best inciting incidents to a story that I can remember. Like, it's just like, you're just like, whoa, like, what? Like,
right.
That's not supposed to happen.
Yeah, like, the
what?
little girl's not supposed to die right now, and
yeah, it's
of anything,
wild.
He's supposed to die, and she's supposed to have some heroic journey where she, you know, wants to live on in her father's memory. No, the little girl dies. Like,
and then it does the same thing the game does.
20 years later, this is lived in. It's believable that this has been lived in. People have, you know, acclimated, much as, I mean, we had to do the same thing. We had to acclimate to what that life had to look like. Like, this show is just very, very mirror-ish for a time you don't really want it to be mirror-ish, but we kind of need it to be mirror-ish. So 20 years later, there's this kid, they're walking, and then it's Baston. They're in Baston. Yeah, so the kid gets to the edge, and then the kid gets to the gate. There's this
a very ominous welcome
massive gate.
It says welcome.
Yeah, that says welcome, which is hilarious. And then the kid just faints, and then they get the kid, but they strap the kid down in the wheelchair. And then this soldier, she kind of takes the kid and is just like, hey, we're gonna give you a little medicine. We're gonna make you feel better. We're gonna get you new clothes and your favorite food and your favorite toys. And while this is happening, a little scan, and the scan's I just love how the soldier just flicks his wrist, shows, and then just walks right away.
And it's out of focus.
Out of focus, just quick shows, just like she looks over, she's just like, we're gonna make you feel better, and they kill.
You all know what that means.
Mm-hmm. They kill the kid, and then you figure out what the future looks like for a post-apocalyptic world. Like, gotta get rid of the body somehow, so they're burning the bodies.
To reintroduce the Joel.
Yep, and it's this one woman's just like, I can't do it, and then Joel just immediately picks up the body and throws it in the fire. And then he drops his mask, and it's Joel.
Yeah, you see the kid, like, it was very Jojo Rabbit with the shoes. Like, the shoes are very bright.
Yep.
So, like, you'd know, like, like this is that kid, and you're just like, ooh.
So you know what Joel's all about. He didn't have it's just like the iconography of him holding Sarah, and then him holding this kid and just immediately disposing of this kid because he's broken. He doesn't have any feeling left. What little feeling he has left is like dissipating with every second he had to stay alive past her death. So we pick up with Joel. He's looking for odd jobs. Joel's
Day in the life,
yeah, which is great. It expands on the game's Day in the Life because the game immediately needs to get you to something to do because they do that explosion pretty early, but and then it kind of sets you on the path for the rest of the game. But this is like truthfully what's going on. Like,
people are executed, hung in the streets, at like a public like gallows, like. It's terrible.
Yep, for leaving the city. We got a Gore Lieberman shirt, because 2000.
Yep.
And you just see how horrible life is, but people are acclimated and people are quote-unquote comfortable again. So Joel's slinging dope. He's selling drugs. Joel's an alcoholic. He's popping pills. Him and his brother are still, I don't know if close is the right word, but they're still in touch. Joel's got a lady, Tess. Tess is great.
Anna Torv,
yeah, she's awesome. She's just so, she doesn't,
no nonsense
at all. Her voice is just particularly piercing in a great way. Like whenever she yells something, like you got no choice but to listen. One of those voices, which is awesome. So yeah, she's great. They're good together. So basically, another jump explosion when she meet Tess, because Tess is tied up by Robert.
Yep.
Robert's just the worst.
He is.
He sucks, man.
Yep.
So Robert's kind of bargaining with her, like, hey, you need this car battery? Joel's like, I need this battery. I gotta go find Tommy, because...
And I love the dynamic between Robert and Tess specifically, because, like, his guys jumped her, and she's tied up, but he still feels like he's on the back foot.
Yep.
Because he's so afraid of Joel.
Mm-hmm. Like, what is this guy capable of? And I mean, later, Ellie says that later in the episode, like, what are they capable of?
She's the one who's been done wrong in this situation, and she's like, it's fine, like, don't worry about it.
I'll tell my guy to back off.
She's like, don't worry about, like, do whatever you have to do with these two. He's like, no, but my guys attacked you.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
He's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, Robert's just an incompetent.
Yeah.
Like, he's the most incompetent, like, people. Like, there's people like that.
He's the middleman.
Yeah, he's the middleman.
He's the middleman.
Yeah. He's like the upper management of middle management.
Yeah.
So, Robert, he's disposed of later, unfortunately. But,
explosion.
Explosion. Big jump scare explosion. The Fireflies. You get introduced to what the Fireflies are about.
Sort of.
Destabilization,
which is fine. Yep. I love the way that they did this. Like, it's 20 years later. We're not going to go out of our way to tell you who the Fireflies are. Like, you can piece it together. They're an anti-establishment, freedom fighting group, essentially.
Yep. So Tess meets back up with Joel. Joel's just like, he's trying to find Tommy. Joel goes to the radio tower guy. And it's just like, you send a message out to Tommy, and he's just like, I tried. No answer. He's like, he never takes more than a day to answer me, and it's been a week. Like, he hasn't said anything. So they need that car battery to get to try to get to Tommy to save him. While they're
presumably,
right. So they need a little information. They go find out, and Tess is just like, I want you to hurt Robert. I want you to hurt him real good. I told him you weren't going to do it, but surprise, you're going to do it, Joel.
But I want you to.
Yeah, I want him to suffer. So what happens after this?
In the meanwhile, we're introduced to Ellie.
Right, yeah. So you get the first introduction of Bella Ramsey as Ellie. Embodies every fiber of her being. Even down to the way she kicks the plate away is just it's very Ellie. It's
defiant.
Yep.
It's smart. It's
her language is crass and just really bad, like a horrible mouth on this kid.
She's been detained by the Fireflies.
Yep, and they're just like she's just like, why are we it's a level of confusion, especially for people that don't know, like, what's this little girl doing locked up by all these things? So, you get introduced to Marlene. Thank God Merle Dandridge just
awesome,
gets to play Marlene again and gets new stuff to do as well too, which is great.
She's very militant, more so than how the game presents her.
I love it. She's just like, you should follow orders. Like, I don't care. Like, follow orders. Like, I'll tell you what to do and you're going to do it. It's as simple as that. So she gets that done. She kind of one of the Fireflies asks her, like, why do we have this girl chase? Nobody's telling me anything. And then they don't tell you exactly what's going on, but she's just like, you're gonna want to keep this girl alive, and like, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna show you, but I'm not gonna tell you. And she kind of shows her the whatever piece of paper that
Note
was
from Salem.
Yep. And then the girl Kim immediately like perks up, like, you can't be, this isn't real, like, there's no way this is a real thing that you're telling me. She's like,
her plan is, we're gonna get the car battery from Robert, and we're gonna take a group of us and get Ellie out of here.
You know what this show does? It presents the Fireflies as just as like distressed as the world is, instead of like, they feel so much more put together in the game versus this. They feel like they're on their, like, this isn't only like humanity's last, like, this is also their last hope.
Well, yeah, she says it. She's like, we're losing. Like, we're losing this battle.
Yep.
She's like, we're a rebellion. She's like, how can you be a rebellion when you're fighting a rebellion for 20 years? You're not a rebellion anymore.
Right.
You're just spray paint.
Right. Which is awesome.
Great line.
Yep. So Tess and Joel they're Audi 5000. They're like, all right, let's go get this car battery.
So you already see the conflict coming, because we know we know Tess and Joel were supposed to get the battery, but we now know that Robert has double-crossed them and is going to give this battery to the Fireflies instead. So conflict is coming.
Yep.
But again, to your point, they pull back because there is no conflict.
There is nope. So they get so they do a very Last of Us thing, and they go into the sewers, they go into the tunnels.
Jump scare.
It looks
it's
good.
Flawless.
It looks real. Like, it looks like real fungus and like a decomposed body inside of the fungus. And
it's one of those things that's a real visual effects test. Because that could have looked really bad.
Yep.
In any different type of situation.
Because I feel like other shows would have tried to CG this, but this is real, right? This feels like they got all the makeup artists to go in and kind of do this for real.
Strap a guy to a wall.
That would be much funnier if they paid an actor to strap him to the wall and do it like that. It would have been so much funnier. But
tie that man down and infect him with cordyceps.
I'm looking at it right now. I can't even. It's insane. Like, how did they do that good? Yeah. It's like actual mushrooms growing out of his like.
It looks crazy,
man.
And then they get upstairs, and heaps of people are dead.
Smell that? Gunpowder. And I'm like, oh no! And then blood starts pouring out.
Yep.
And it's Robert. Thank God
dead.
He's gone.
Yeah, good for him. He's dead.
See you later, Robert.
Couple of the other Fireflies are dead, and then there's like moaning. And you're like, and then again, like, your anxiety kicks in. You're like, is that an infected person?
Nope.
Who is that?
Here we go. Yep. And then it's Marlene.
It's Marlene. Yeah.
It's Marlene and Kim.
Yep.
They're both Marlene shot. Kim's ears blown off. And then, lo and behold, somebody jumps through, tries to sneak up on Joel, but you didn't know Joel has all his attributes on 100, so can't sneak up on him. He throws her against the wall. What an incredible way to introduce your two main protagonists.
Like, these two are going to be like on a found family adventure, and like the first time they interact is like he just parries her and throws her into a wall. It's fantastic. I just love it's just so great, because Ellie's just like, ha! And he's just like,
Yeah.
throws it,
Nope.
thud,
Yep.
against the wall.
Yep.
It's tremendous.
Yep, so-
And he steps on her knife, like
Yep.
you can see, like Joel's gears are always turning. Like he's always going to put himself in a position where he has the advantage.
Yep. Yep.
So like throws her against the wall, boom, quick steps on her knife, points the gun at her. Marlene's like, not at her.
Immediately, they're just like, point the gun at me. Do not point it at her.
And then they're like, Joel?
yeah, Marlene? Nah. Oh, they have a history. They do find the car battery. It's cooked, so it wasn't going to work for anybody either way because Robert is the worst. So
But again, it's a nice little story moment, just in 2 lines. Joel, Marlene, like, they know each other.
Yep, right. So they're meeting each other. Obviously, they said like, put the gun on me. Do not put that on her. So again, she's important. Like she's soulfully important to this entire story and what's trying to get achieved. So Marlene's like, all right. I needed the battery. You needed the battery. Who cares?
Nobody has a battery.
You're gonna get every battery after you do this. I need you to take
Tess calls her the Che Guevara of Boston.
Hilarious. So basically this is your inciting incident. Like,
well, this is the hero's journey.
right, yeah. So this is the start. This is the twin sons for Luke. I guess the twin sons with Sarah dying. This is more Obi-Wan telling him, like, I need you to come.
You have a greater purpose.
Yeah, I need you to come with me to Alderaan. So essentially, what happens is Marlene's like, all right, shoot. You know what? Forget it. You two are going to take this girl cross country. And Joel's
like, excuse
nope,
me?
Yeah.
They do the thing from the game where Joel and Ellie both go, I'm not going with them. Like,
right. So they're like, absolutely not. And Kim immediately like, I'll take her. You don't have a freaking ear on your freaking head, Kim.
Can you please?
Can you please?
Don't forget the can you please, because that's my favorite part of that line.
Oh, it's so good.
Can you please?
Yeah, so...
And Kim's just like, oh.
Yeah, I don't have it. And then the camera just shows her ear, and oh my god, her ear's just gone. Like, it's just blowing off.
The small directorial bits
and then Tess and Joel are like, all right, let's convo her a little bit, and Marlene's just
Sidebar.
like, yeah, can you hurry up? I'm bleeding out over here. So, they're like, you know what? Tess is like, let's do it.
Joel, it's a nice flip on the game where Tess is the one that kind of talks Joel into it, and in this, Joel's like, the Fireflies have repurposed Fedra gear.
Right, yeah, he's like, well, again, this is all for Tommy. He doesn't care about nothing besides Tommy. He's just like, I gotta get it to my brother. And he says, like, we're not smugglers. Like, it's not
for those of you who don't know, like, the impetus behind them going on taking Ellie in the game is just for guns. Like they want their guns back. Yeah, they're gun running.
And Marlene's like, you're gonna get your guns back if you take this little girl.
So I like this change where his impetus makes more sense than just I'm taking this girl halfway across the town, the city
for guns.
No,
like this is like I gotta get in contact. I gotta find a way to get to my brother.
Yeah, which I like that a lot.
Right. So they're like, all right, fine, we're gonna do it. F you, Marlene. We'll do it for you this time. We'll do you this one favor this one time, Marlene. So they take Ellie back to the apartment. They slam the door to the line where she sounds exactly like Ashley Johnson. Yeah, just unreal how much she embodies her. So
nailed it.
And then they do the scene from the game where they're sitting in the apartment. And she's just like, "What am I supposed to do?" He's like, "I'll sure you figure that out."
Killing time.
So he takes a little nap. She's going over the code breaks.
She's snooping.
She's snooping, which Ellie does. She can't help herself.
Because she asks who Bill and Frank are, because she overhears Tess and Joel mention Bill and Frank. And she's like, who's Bill and Frank? He's like, none ya.
Yeah. And because she was born after the infection, she doesn't understand what the none ya business means. Oh, they even throw the line of just like, those people born after the infection. They don't understand. They see...
Those damn Gen Zers.
Yeah, they see a problem. They start swinging.
Yeah, so they do the bit from the game where Joel falls asleep. He has a nightmare. He has a few nightmares in this. I remember listening to the Druckmann commentary on the game, and he talks about how he really liked those establishing shots of someone's always waking up to like transition.
It was my favorite. It's one of my favorite pieces of the game where Joel wakes up, and it's just, I immediately was like, there's no way they jumped 20 years and this man's just like an old man now.
Someone's always waking up. Sarah's waking up. Joel's waking up. Ellie's waking up. Someone's always waking up. So they kept that in this. And they have the conversation again where Ellie's like, you had a nightmare. And, they keep the line, your watch is broken.
Man.
It's such a great line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that they kept that in because it's such an impactful line. Because you as an audience member are like, I know why his watch is broken. Stop being a bitch.
Yeah, shut up, Ellie. Jesus. Yep. So, so they're just like, all right, let's go. We're gonna do this.
But Ellie also goes, while you were asleep, the radio went off, and Joel's like, whoa.
Yeah. And she was just like some 80s song started playing. I think it was like Wake Me Up, and I'm like, I love
Wake Me Up Before You Go, you go, and Joel's like, crap.
I love Wham. And then she's just, I mean, it was a lie, so Ellie could find out. She just like figured it out. 80s is trouble. So
Joel's like,
so 60s is nothing, 70s is we got something, and 80s is trouble. So that happens. So they're like, all right, let's go. They do the game Secret Tunnel because there's secret tunnels built everywhere because Fedra just can't keep tabs on everything, I guess.
Yep.
They run into the officer that Joel was selling drugs to before.
Because again, it's another great Joel moment. Like, this is an officer that he knows, that he barters with, is as friendly with as Joel can get.
Joel's, right.
with somebody. And, the guy's like, I freaking told you to stay off the street at night. Like, I told you.
You know what? Now we're going to go by the book. I'm checking everybody. I'm going to do the Fedra laws. I'm going to check for infection, and then I'm going to have you guys arrested.
Joel and Tess are trying to barter with him.
75% off. For free. He's just like, nope.
Because he tells them, like, this is a capital offense. Like, you could be hung for this.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it goes back to the whole things that that Marlene said, like, why, like, she tells Kit, like, why did we blow up A, B, C, D, E? So Fedra wasn't here. Like, we didn't need them here. So they're already on edge. And he says it, like, my boss is on edge right now. So he's like, you know what? We're doing things by the book. Scans Tess, green. Scans Joel, green. Scans Ellie
stabbed in the leg.
That knife out and stabs him in the leg because she knows. And then,
we don't know.
Well, we don't know, right? So he's bleeding there, and then it's when he holds the gun and then stabs him, and he's just like, what the heck, man? And then holds the gun up, and then Joel immediately, I hate you, Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann. They flash right back to Joel 20 years ago, and he tackles him, and he beats the man to death.
He hit that square button on
he hit the square
button.
Yeah. No weapon equipped swear, just hands were had. He just beat him in. Joel's like an animal. Like, he beat him to death.
You see that side of him.
Yep. He sees Ellie, and
when Ellie says, "What are they capable of?" That
yeah, beats the man to death. He's gone, and then I don't know what it is about her voice. She's like, Joel, and then she flashes in and it's red, and he's like, oh, what did we just get ourselves into? He's just like, it's 3 weeks.
Ellie's trying to explain, like, I'm not infected, like, it's my wound is 3 weeks old, and I love how this is much more of a frantic scene than it is in the game, because in the game it's it's not subdued, but it's not as frantic, where they kind of take time to be like, why are we smuggling an infected girl? And then she's like, I'm not infected, I'm not da 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 da. But in this it's like, I'm not infected, like, Tess is screaming, and she's like, Joel, we gotta go. We gotta go, man.
Yeah. While this is going on, and then this is it, Joel's like, he's like stuck, like, he just keeps thinking back to that night that happened.
And while he's beating this guy, Ellie is like looking at him in this way,
like admiration.
Yeah, she's intrigued, and also, you get this feeling that she has not been protected in that way before.
Right.
By anybody.
She's maybe been passed off, but she hasn't been protected.
Someone who does not have a parent figure in her life.
And Joel doesn't have a daughter figure.
Right.
Wonderful.
Interesting.
So this is going on. We cut back to a medium of the apartment, and it's just slowly zooming in on the box.
Again, so Chernobyl.
And then
Chernobyl.
Then the box clicks on, and it's just 80s music starts playing, and then it just gives you that huge wide shot, like from the big one from the first trailer where the lightning strikes, and then you see the two, like, the tower crashed into the other tower. It's a pretty
infamous shot from the game also. Exactly. Like those two, like the leaning towers there. Right. The one decrepit building into the other, and like that's where they're headed.
Right.
And then you hear off in the distance a shrieking. A shrieking and like a guttural kind of clicking sound, if you will. And then upon second review of this, I did not notice it the first time, but if you look up close underneath where the buildings are to the left a little bit, as the lightning strikes, you see exactly what is making that guttural sound. It is a clicker, which the little inside baseball You'll find out what that is next week.
For those that don't know, but those who know.
Yeah, that's all I'll say about the clickers. Right. There are a variety of degrees of infection.
Right.
And the clicker is an advanced stage of infection.
Right. So, and that's The Last of Us episode 1.
Holy moly.
Yeah. If this is just episode 1, for some of the things that this game divulged into, like, we are in for such a treat of just show making and just what makes storytelling so incredible and why we love it so much.
Yeah, it's a perfect table setter. It's one of the best, like I said, it's one of the best pilots I've ever seen of a TV show. It sets the stage perfectly for Joel and Ellie. Like, you're immediately in on them together. Sarah's death, like I said, is an incredible, inciting incident that, you know, I'd read, I guess this came from the companion podcast that they do, that Chuckman and Manzan's original idea was to end the episode with Sarah's death.
Right, yep.
Or not end with Sarah's death, end with the infected child, and have that be the end of the first episode. And then it was actually the higher ups at HBO said, like, no, keep it going. Like, people are not going to want to end at that point. Like, they're going to want to see what the future is. And, you know, they agreed not to add that in, but to extend the episode to the 85 minutes to show us the future and kind of how Joel's life is, and introduce us to Ellie and get them going. Right.
This is something I pick a show to think about. That's Falcon and the Winter Soldier. What did that show not do in the first episode? It didn't have your two main characters meet. Like, I had a fear of that going into this episode.
So did I think I might have even said that I think the first episode was going to end with Sarah's death.
Right. And then good thing they didn't, because
I agree.
If you're going to sell this show as, like, you know, this found father-child situation where they go on, like, this post-apocalyptic, you know, road trip, you need them to meet in the first episode so you have something for people to look forward to and kind of can set the stage and theorize of what's going to happen or what trials and tribulations they can go through. And I think this handles that really very well, and they make the right decision to extend the episode, not end on, like, the lowest of lows. It's like that's what this universe does. It gives you the smallest sliver of hope that you can ask for.
Yeah, you're like, oh, great, Joel's gonna go find his brother. Like, this is gonna be great. And, you know, you have your kind of group now, like your cast of characters that you're invested in. Like, you have Joel, Tess, and Ellie. Like, this is who you're gonna be with now, you know, for the next, you know, series of episodes, like the season. Like, this is the group, and like it's cool that it sends them on their way, because it leaves you with so many questions, right? Like, it leaves you with, like, well, what is Tommy up to? Like, are we going to see Tommy again? Like, are we going to see Marlene again? Yep. Like, she's staying in Boston. Like, is she going to, like, follow them out?
And she's a terrorist in Boston, too. She's labeled a terrorist in Boston.
Yeah, so there's so many interesting threads that
what is this episode also for people that don't know, like, why is Ellie so important to all this? Like,
yeah, because now you know she's infected.
Right, so you can, I mean, it's good because, like, I mean, for us, we know, but, like, I do think for some people that don't know, they might be like, why is she so important, like, right now? Because Jolie makes a joke, like, you some bigwig's daughter. She's just like something like that. And I mean, just based off because we find out through this that Marlene because, like, she's just like, I got put in a Fedra military camp when I was a baby, and, like, I didn't have a choice, and it's for orphans. And Marlene's like, you were there because I put you there. And I was like, oh, you did? Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah, so. It's there's so many interesting threads that it does what a good pilot does. I mean, the first episode of our podcast was talking about, like, our favorite pilots and superhero media specifically, but, you know, to expand that out, like, a great pilot does exactly what this one did. Like, it gives us our stakes, it introduces us to the world, to the characters, and what type of journey they're going to be going on. Right. And that's exactly what this does. Like, there's so many layers to what they introduce us to. Like, you assume at some point we're going to meet Bill and Frank. Like, they're going to have to meet up with Joel and Tess at some point.
Who are Bill and Frank?
Yeah, who are Bill and Frank. Like, they're obviously run with Joel and Tess. Like, they're cut from a similar cloth. Yep. So, like, what's their story? Right. Like I said, where's Tommy? What's going to happen with Marlene? Yeah. And then,
what's the big plot thread? Like, what's the whole point of this whole thing?
Yeah, because, you know, how long is it going to take them to deliver Ellie to wherever they have to deliver her to? Right. And what does that look like? Because Joel makes them mention, like, if we get screwed over here, like, I'll kill her.
Like, he's cold. He doesn't care about anything.
Like that's what's gonna happen.
Yep.
Like they have to give us everything that you're promising us, or we will kill her.
Right.
So like, what's that inevitable conflict gonna look like?
Yeah, that is a really good point about, and I mean it's something from the trailer, but that is a really great point about, you know, giving Joel the proper motivation, because again, in the game it's very much guns. I just need these guns, and I mean obviously evolves and there's underlying, you know, it's more of, you know, it goes beyond that, but in the show it immediately, and he says in the trailer, like, you keep going for family, because I guarantee she probably asked, like, if you don't care about me, and I'm just like, why do you keep going? And he's just like, I keep going for family. That's what I keep going for. And it's like, it's such this case study on human nature.
And there's also a layer, like an underlying layer to Joel and Tommy's relationship that you get when he says to Marlene, "You turn my brother against me." So you're like, oh, yeah, that's interesting.
But
like,
maybe that's just Joel's perspective on the whole situation. That's bad. That could very much be the situation where it's like, he didn't get that's Tommy was fully aware of his own actions.
So what kind of in touch are they? Like, if Joel feels that strongly that he feels that she turned Tommy against him, but they're still in touch. So is it just like one of those things like, you all right? Yeah, I'm all right. And it's like that kind of thing. But and then, you know, Joel being, it's not said in the show, but, or it might be said in the show that he's the older brother, but, you know, that older brother kind of protective instinct that he has when he doesn't hear from his younger brother, even one that he's apparently estranged from, kicks in, and he's like, I have to get out there. Like, I know how dangerous it is. Like, there's multiple mentions of, like, you know what's out there. And because the guy's like, I'm sure Tommy's fine, even though there's raiders and hunters and infected, and Joel's like, oh, but he's fine, right? And the guy's like, oh.
Thanks for the weed, though.
Yeah, so I was super impressed. Like, this layman's terms, just super impressed. Could not be happier. Like I said, it's not just an adaptation to me anymore. Like, this is a genuine TV show.
This is a program with story and with drive. And
that
intent.
I think should be watched. As far as, like, it's on that, to me, as long as it maintains this quality and this everything that it's doing, it's going to be on that Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon plateau. Yeah. Like, I think it's already exceeded Watchmen, as much as we both love Watchmen. I think it's exceeded that. Viewership-wise, it's already past Euphoria. Like, the second season of Euphoria, when people were already, like, aware of it.
Yeah, that second season of Euphoria also was just, like, I'll never forget that premiere was just, like, holy crap. Like, it felt like the world stopped. Like, I feel like whenever the season 2 of this show comes out, it's going to be the same. It's going to be, like, world stop. Everybody needs to watch.
It might even be the next episode of this.
Right.
Like, people, I think, are in. Yeah,
I agree wholeheartedly.
I mean, this was trending over Cowboys Bucks on Twitter. Like, more people were talking about The Last of Us than talking about Monday Night Football. I mean, granted, the football game wasn't that great.
But I mean, it was still Tom Brady versus America's team.
Versus the Cowboys,
that pretty much pulls some viewership in. But
and The Last of Us was trending
4.7 million in an episode of something that some people have never heard of before.
Yeah. I mean, you're not getting just... That 4.7 is not just us. It's not just gamers. It's people that were intrigued and stuck around.
I do think they did a great job with their marketing, too. I think their marketing campaign was really well done. There's a whole bunch of YouTubers, like, asking for an immersive experience. Imagine a Last of Us immersive experience. That would be so good. So you
got two actors that people who enjoyed Game of Thrones
right from the HBO cloth. Yep. It's well done. It's smart. It's good casting.
Tremendous casting, yeah.
People that were home at HBO and probably that they knew and kind of had in their back pocket. You got the star of Pedro. I don't even want to understate that. Like, Pedro Pascal is at, like, the top of his career. This can be the thing that, like, really, like, is like, this guy, it's like, we need him to be in everything Hollywood's probably going to say. Like,
yeah, because you would have thought Narcos was that. And then,
you would have thought Game of Thrones was that. And then you would have thought, I mean, Mandalorian was like, but he doesn't show his face like this.
You're like, is it weird? Is it weird that this guy is great and everything?
Yeah.
Like, in Game of Thrones, when he's only in one season of Game of Thrones as Oberyn Martell, but from the minute he steps on screen, you're like, holy moly, this guy he's charming, he's charismatic, he's incredibly quick and sharp. Like, you're like, what is this? And then he's gone in Game of Thrones, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, right.
Like, I want more of that guy. And then, obviously, like you said, The Mandalorian, you're in. And he's just doing that with his voice. And then, so I feel like you're right. I feel like this is this is going to be the thing that solidifies, like, no, this is a genuine, you know, TV star. Like, it's cool. Like, we talked about, like, the death of the movie star, kind of, not the death of the movie star, but you know what I mean? Like, it feels like they're few and far between now. Yeah. We talked about Tom Cruise with Top Gun and all that other stuff, but, like, there's as few movie stars, quote unquote, as there are, there's even fewer TV stars. Right, yep. Right. And I feel like Pedro Pascal is emerged as a bona fide TV star.
Yeah. This is going to be the thing that really puts him over the top. This is the year of Jonathan Majors and Pedro Pascal. So it's just awesome to see. I'm glad we kind of have the perspectives we do on things. Like sometimes I hear people and like the first words out of their mouth, they're like, I don't like this, but this is okay, I guess. It's just weird to me. Like, if this is the thing you like so much, then why is your first inclination to not like? But it's just awesome to kind of see these actors transcend into these roles and like bring these things to life. Like, I think that's why this is truthfully like the greatest form of media. Like, live action stuff is the greatest form of media, because it's like, I think the best point that I made earlier was talking about like, when you see actual physical people on screen, like, you got no choice but to feel some sort of like relation to them. Like, you just can't. You can't not feel it. So I think this is, again, and to bring your point from before into this, like, this is the perfect story for television. Like, prolonged sequences.
Doing
like,
exactly what I thought it was going to do. Yep. That it's better suited for TV than it was even the game that it's adapted from. Like, like I said, that tension and anxiety, like, is so ramped up in this, and it gave me an interesting perspective looking back at the game now. Like, you think like the most exciting parts of the game are like the combat sequences and like those kind of, you know, firefights or infected encounters. But what I've come to realize now watching this show is those are actually the breaks in the tension.
Right. Because the cinematics are all driven by relationship. That's what it's the relationship among humans. And it's really an allegory for like the kind of how fungus is, like, you know, how it spreads and infects. It's like through, like, you know, through host body to different bodies, but like relationships are the same thing. You're setting up like these kind of branches out to other people. You choose whether to trust them or whether to not trust them. Like, it's just I can't believe this show is real. Like, I truthfully can't believe this is a real show that we're getting.
I can't believe it's real. I can't believe it's as good as it turned out. Like, this is, it floored every expectation that I had. And I was just super impressed. Like, I finished the episode. It was 85 minutes. Didn't feel it one bit. I wanted more.
Yeah, that's a great, I did not feel the length of that episode at all.
Nope. So,
it felt like 45 minutes. It didn't feel like 85.
Yeah, I was,
and that shout out to that opening scene, like the first half of that episode does that, I think.
Yeah, I was constantly like just anxious of like, where is this going to end? Like, I know it's going to end at some point.
You know exactly what's going to happen, but you're enthralled. Like, you can't move.
Like, I just want to see it. I just want to see it keep going.
I can't stress enough. Like, when those planes were coming down over their head, just like,
it's bananas.
This is insanity that I'm witnessing right now.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
That was my hallway fight in Daredevil, was those planes overhead.
It's absurd. It's absurd. That sequence is absurd.
And what I'll leave with is some people have seen the first 4, and then some people have seen the whole season. It's just being critically and audience acclaimed. And I feel like for the naysayers, like, they were like, oh shoot, this is actually just good show. Like, this is just good program. So like, oh crap, we can't really hate from the changes because this is just actually a great show. And I mean, the critics that, you know, are paid to do this, like, they understand what this is. And like, this is just, you get the guy from Chernobyl. It's tough to make a bad show. I mean, he had one of the surprise hits of the 2010s. And
a lot of these critics are regular TV critics that are just looking at this objectively as a TV show. Like, what is this? And they're like, ooh, like, this is something. Like, this is special.
Yep.
And I think the next 8 weeks are going to be a wild ride.
Right.
I really do. Like, it's only going to get more tense. Everything's gonna ramp up. Right. The tensity, the emotion, all of it is gonna ramp up over the next 8 weeks, and I'm so excited to see where that goes. So that's The Last of Us episode 1. Oh man,
I'm exhausted, man.
Yeah. So what have you been up to?
It's like one of 9 weeks, and I'm just vehemently exhausted.
What have you been up to besides The Last of Us?
thinking about The Last of Us. I mean, I'm just gonna keep this going week to week. We still gotta label this the court of films.
Yep.
This section of the show.
Yeah, I'll get on that.
Yeah. I will roger that. So I'm keeping going. Stayed true. It is the 17th today. I've watched 16 movies so far this year. So since the last time I've seen you guys, what was the last movie that I said? I feel like I said it.
Knives Out, Glass Onion.
That was like the third movie that I watched.
Yeah, you rattled off like all of them.
Yeah, I did. I think I landed on, I want to say, because what's today, the 17th? So I would have landed on Gladiator, would have been the last movie I watched, if I'm not mistaken. So it either was that, or I think it was that. So after that, I watched Devotion with Jonathan Majors and Glenn Powell, the story of Jesse Brown. I'm glad that's a story that's brought to life. The Korean War is the Forgotten War, it's labeled as, and just to kind of see that story about one of the first, not now, Siri, one of the first African American naval aviators. It was incredible. I mean, again, we're just witnessing like the potential that Jonathan Majors has with every role that he embodies. He's got so much veracity in his roles, but so much kind of. He's so calm, and he's got control over his emotions and kind of how he displays that on film and how he kind of personifies those. So it's awesome to see him in any role. I went to the theater to see Damien Chazelle's Babylon because I am a Damien Chazelle shill and I just won't change. If that's not La La Land, but La La Land's like older brother that's a drug dealer, and that's just like, you know, car chases with the movie's bombastic in every conceivable way. It's just, that movie is so much to kind of consume, but again, he kind of peels back the layers from time. It's just like through this veil of like this insane 1930s transitional era from the silent era to the talkies, for lack of a better term, like kind of showing that, and like through all this craziness, like the beauty of like what film is, I think is really awesome. There's a lot of great sequences. I think because how crazy the movie is, like this movie, if you went a little farther, probably would have gotten worse than an R rating. But I mean, I just think Margot Robbie is like the best that she's been in her career in this movie. I think she's amazing. So Brad Pitt's always a great addition, always somebody that people want to work with as well. And it just, like I said, Damien Chazelle is one of the greatest directors of the modern era, off 4 movies and a television show. I wonder what the rest of it. What is he like? He's 40, I think, maybe. I think he's around the same age as what Ryan Coogler is. Like, I don't think Damien Chazelle's older than like 42 or so. Like, I think he's still relative. I mean, in terms of being a director, he's young. So he's got such an incredible career ahead of him. Watched Pulp Fiction.
Classic.
Man, yeah. When I put my review, the first word I used was iconic. Like, yeah. Tarantino, the best thing about him is his dialogue. His dialogue's tight. That's what I don't think people realize. Like, that's what sets him apart from everybody else. Is his dialogue is it's so interesting because he just talks about the most regular situations where the most craziness of things are happening in the background. It's always great. I needed my Damien Chazelle fix, so I watched First Man. So Ryan Gosling played Neil Armstrong in 2018. This might be my most underrated movie off this list so far, of just a movie that just caught me completely off guard. I was looking at like interviews and stuff, and actually Neil Armstrong's son said that this was the best depiction that they could have asked for of his father and their father and their mother. So just really well done. Him just adding the elements. It's just like, when I look at biopics, it's like you got to get the right people to do these biopics. You can't just throw a director from a studio to be like, all right, you know, immortalize this person's life with this movie. Like, it takes a special level of care, and he does that. I watched The Dark Knight because, you know, I mean, enough's been said about The Dark Knight. Not enough. Nah, I think enough's been said. And then last night I actually watched little neo-noir piece from 1992 with Lawrence Fishburne and
The Matrix.
Nope, nope, that's not it. With Lawrence Fishburne and Jeff Goldblum, called Deep Cover. So what's his name from Predator, and then Trask from X-Men Last Stand.
Yep.
He actually directed this movie, which I think is pretty awesome. It's a Criterion certified movie, which is great. All my cinephiles will know what that means. But I thought this movie is just super interesting. Essentially, it's just Lawrence Fishburne's an undercover cop in the early 90s, and it's essentially like, how far can you go without turning into the thing that you want to, you know, get rid of. Like the thing you want to get rid of. Like how far can you go into this without turning into that very thing? So it's a really cool character study in my opinion. I was really like, it's got like the 90s cheese to it, but like there's still like this like really cool like layer of just wanting of just being like attached to this. Of like I can't get away from like feeling like this is like I'm like on edge. Like is he gonna get caught? A, but like B, like he's like in this, like he's like embodying everything. Like there's this really incredible line in the movie where he's just like I think it was something along the lines of like all your like shortcomings are like all the things that are going to help you succeed at doing the bad thing that you were trying to run away from. So it's really interesting. So Lawrence Fishburne's great. He's great in usually everything that he does, but this one I think is like a hidden gem. I feel like not a lot of people know about from him that they definitely should look after. So that's what I've been up to.
Nice.
Still watching movies. Don't know what I'm going to watch tonight, but who knows? Cool, and for the next X amount of days this year, I don't know what I'm going to watch, but I'll figure it out.
Cool. What have I been doing? I also watched The Dark Knight recently.
Maybe we should have talked about The Dark Knight today.
Well, maybe at some point we will talk about The Dark Knight. That movie's great. I paid a lot more attention to like everybody not named Heath Ledger in this, and I was surprised at how good everyone else is for the most part. Aaron Eckhart is particularly really great as Harvey Dent, and I think Bale is better than I think I gave him credit for. So I really enjoyed that. And then as far as like the gaming side, I've embarked on this journey of being like a passenger and getting into like those story driven like choose your own adventure style.
So you played Infamous again?
Nope. I went all the way back to 2010. 12?
Jesus.
And I'm playing Heavy Rain right now.
Jeez.
And yeah, I forgot how much I really enjoy games like that. So like, I want to play Heavy Rain. I want to play Detroit Become Human. I want to play The Walking Dead Telltale games again. Because I don't think I finished all of them. I want to play Life is Strange again for sure. I just like watching those stories unfold, and like the fact that like you can think something is the right choice or the wrong choice, or sometimes neither choice is good, but you make one anyway. And, you know, it's just fun watching those stories unfold. And it's pretty low intensity as far as like physicalness, but like as far as like mental and emotional, like those Walking Dead games, especially the first one, is traumatizing.
Relax, Game Studios, with the amount of trauma. Even in my Spider-Man game, you guys had to give me just relax a little bit.
And Heavy Rain is very much that. It's very heavy, pun intended, in the beginning. Like, it's all about uncovering the mystery behind a serial killer, the origami killer. And you have a cast of 4, I believe, that you follow throughout the game. So you have Ethan Mars, who's in a depressed dad. He loses his son Jason very early on.
Oh no!
Heavy Rain became a meme. You know, press X to Jason because of how many times you can call out to the boy, and you know he's hit by a car, and then Ethan's life is turned upside down, and you know is a very fascinating character. I forget the names of all the other characters right now because I'm like halfway through it, but so I'm definitely getting back into those games because they're great. And I like the aspect of choosing your own kind of pathways.
Right.
All right. Socials.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
You can follow the show at ProjectINF_pod. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram.
At the Project Infinite Pod.
Thank you very much. New episodes posted every Wednesday. Next week, we'll probably do a thing, and then we probably won't dedicate the whole episode to The Last of Us again, but we'll probably talk...
Who knows, though?
Who knows?
We'll
probably talk about episode 2 a little bit, but we're not going to do what we did with this episode. But this episode was so fantastic, and it was the first one, so we felt like we had to talk about it in depth. So that's what we did. So next week, we'll see what we can come up with. On that note, from me... From
the Grandma Adler.
Nope.
Tommy?
Nope. I did that last week, man.
Oh, you did do that but that was game Tommy. This is real life Tommy this time. Shout out Gabriel Luna. Or Gabriel, yeah.
Gabriel Luna, yep.
How incredible. He sounded exactly like Tommy. And they said in the interviews he was like, he's the one of the cast that actually played the game before. So he was like on set. I think he said there was a time where like, it was like in between a take and like, Pedro Pascal leaned over. He's just like, "Is this in the game, man?" He's just like, "Yeah," and then he's just like, "Yep." He's like, "Okay."
Man, I don't know. There's so many horrible people in this universe.
Can't give me Sarah. That just sucks.
Nope.
Can't give me Robert.
Nope.
Marlene.
Nope. The Craig Manzin of the podcast?
Sure, I'll take that.
Yes.
That means my career's gonna be great. Craig Manzon's also like a wonderful person. Like he's just like the nicest guy in every interview that he's done.
And I don't understand where this narrative came from. We're almost at 2 hours, but whatever. And this narrative that he doesn't care about video games or gaming,
This
like
is insane.
Oh, I heard him talk about last week. They were like, "What are you up to?" And he's like, "I'm playing God of War Ragnarok." I'm like, "Cool."
Right? Yeah.
Can he direct that too?
Yeah. You want to talk about trauma? Imagine having like this like all-powerful god and then just adding trauma onto that. Stop.
Can he direct God of War also? Like, what are we talking about?
Give me Christopher Judge. Don't quit playing.
How are we saying this guy doesn't like video games when he's...
It's just crazy that like Druckmann's there, like changing stuff. Like they're acting like somebody stepped on set and is changing like.
And again, we talked about this briefly last week, where people felt he made some comments about like death in gaming, and it felt like he was trivializing death. Did it feel like he did that in this first episode?
He burned a kid. They killed Joel's daughter. Robert is just, thank God.
Did it feel like he made death feel trivial in this first episode? Because what he directed for Sarah's death in this was more impactful than in the game. So I'm not quite sure.
It was when she was like grabbing she was literally grabbing for dear life.
So I'm not quite sure where this idea that he doesn't care about games or somehow doesn't understand games. The man understands stories.
Exactly. Best way to put it.
What I can tell.
Right.
So we'll see what episode 2 has in store. From then, from us. Till then.
Yeah, but you have not seen The Last of Us.
Not again. If you say look for the light, I'm going to break your jaw.
Oh, man.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Peace.